The moment I saw my wife kiss my best friend, I didn't feel angry. I felt stupid. Because I suddenly realized that every Friday night for the past 6 months, while she told me she was working late, she had actually been meeting him. My wife, Emily, and I had been married for 11 years. I trusted her completely. That was why I never questioned her when she started coming home late every Friday. She always had the same excuse. Big project at work. Last minute meeting. My boss needs me. I believed every word. Until one Friday night when I received a message from my best friend Daniel. He asked if I wanted to grab a beer. I told him I couldn't because Emily was working late and I wanted to wait for her. Daniel didn't respond for several minutes. Then he wrote, "Yeah, she's probably busy." Something about that message felt wrong. I looked at the clock. It was almost 10. Emily still wasn't home, so I decided to drive past her office. I told myself I wasn't checking up on her, I just wanted to surprise her and bring her dinner. But when I arrived, the parking lot was almost empty. Her car wasn't there. I called her. No answer. Then I remembered something. A few months earlier, Emily had mentioned a small Italian restaurant downtown that her co-workers loved. I drove there without really knowing why, and that's where I saw her. She was sitting at a table near the window with Daniel, my best friend. They weren't talking about work, they weren't having dinner with coworkers, they were holding hands. I parked across the street and watched them through the windshield. Then Daniel leaned across the table and kissed her. Emily kissed him back. I felt my entire body go numb. I took out my phone and recorded everything. Then I drove home. When Emily finally arrived at 11:30, she walked through the door with the same tired expression she had used hundreds of times before. "Sorry I'm late," she said. Work was crazy. I looked at her and smiled. "It's okay, I'm just glad you're home." She kissed me on the cheek. I almost laughed. That night, I didn't confront her. Instead, I waited. The next morning, I sent Daniel a message. "Hey man, want to grab a beer tonight?" He replied almost immediately. "Sure, what's up?" I met him at the same bar where we'd been friends for years. I watched him sit down across from me, completely unaware that I knew everything. I asked him one question. "How long have you been sleeping with my wife?" His face went completely white. He didn't deny it. He didn't even ask how I knew. He just stared at the table. Finally, he whispered, 6 months. 6 months. 6 months of lies. 6 months of my wife telling me she loved me before leaving the house to meet my best friend. I asked him why. Why would he do this to me? Daniel looked at me and said something I never expected. Because she told me you already knew. I froze. What? He showed me the messages. And that I was unstable. I went home and waited for Emily. When she arrived, I put my phone on the table and played the video of her kissing Daniel. She stopped breathing. For the first time, I saw real fear in her eyes. "Let me explain," she whispered. I shook my head. "No, I think I've heard enough." Then I asked her what she was planning. She didn't answer. I asked again. Finally, she started crying. And that's when she told me the truth. She wasn't planning to leave me for Daniel. She was planning to divorce me and take half of everything I owned. The affair had been part of her plan to make me look unstable. She had been secretly recording our arguments, saving messages, and telling Daniel to provoke me whenever I became suspicious. She wanted me to explode. She wanted me to look like the angry, jealous husband in court, but she made one mistake. She never realized that I had been recording everything too. I had the video, I had the messages, and I had Daniel's confession. 3 weeks later, I filed for divorce. Emily wanted half of everything. Instead, she got exactly what she had earned. The judge saw the evidence and her entire story fell apart. Daniel disappeared from my life and Emily lost the marriage she had spent 6 months destroying. But the strangest part came months later. I received a letter from Daniel. He apologized and told me there was one thing he had never told me. Emily had originally planned to leave me 2 years earlier. She stayed because she discovered I had recently received a large inheritance from my grandfather. She wasn't in love with me anymore. She was in love with what she thought she could take from me. That was the moment I finally understood something. I hadn't lost my wife that night at the restaurant. I had lost her years earlier. I just didn't know it yet. And honestly, discovering the truth was the best thing that ever happened to me.